A simple hoodie, a luxurious car showroom, and a shocking twist that no one saw coming? What happens when a car dealership manager underestimates the man who secretly owns it all? Ethan Cruz walked into the brightly lit showroom of Velocity Motors, the midday Miami sun bouncing off the polished surfaces of the luxury cars parked outside. He adjusted the hood of his simple gray sweatshirt, the material soft from wear, as his sneakers squeaked against the glossy tile floor. His jeans were nothing special, slightly faded, worn around the edges, and yet they were the perfect choice for today's visit. As a black man, Ethan was used to being judged at first glance, and he'd learned over the years to lean into those assumptions. He wasn't here to correct anyone just yet. Today was about observing. The Velocity Motors showroom was his latest acquisition, and he wanted to understand the culture before making any big changes. His plan? Blend in as a regular customer, keep things low-key, and see how people treated him when they didn't know who he was. The scent of new leather and fresh wax hung in the air, a sharp contrast to the humid heat outside. Inside, the employees were scattered in small groups, chatting casually. Their laughter echoed faintly until they noticed him. Conversations grew quieter, eyes darted in his direction, and subtle glances were exchanged. Ethan wasn't surprised. He knew the look: quick, dismissive, judgmental. One employee, clearly the one in charge, broke away from the group and walked towards him with a purposeful click of polished heels. She was a tall, sharp-featured woman with a tailored blazer that screamed authority. Her platinum blonde hair was neatly styled, and she carried a clipboard like it was a badge of office. "Good afternoon," she said, her voice professional but clipped. "How can I help you today?" Ethan offered her a polite smile. "Just looking around." Her gaze flicked to his sneakers, and then back to his face. "Are you shopping for a car?" she asked, her tone layered with doubt. Ethan nodded casually. "Something like that." The corners of her mouth tightened, the polite mask slipping just enough to reveal the impatience beneath. "Well," she started, taking a step back and adjusting the clipboard against her hip. "We specialize in high-end vehicles here. Most of our inventory requires pre-qualification. I'd be happy to direct you to a dealership that might be a better fit for your needs." The words landed like small daggers, but Ethan's expression remained calm. He wasn't new to this game. People like her always thought they knew who belonged and who didn't. He tilted his head slightly and asked, "What exactly makes you think I'm not your target customer?" Her professional demeanor faltered, but only for a moment. "I'm just trying to save you time," she replied, her voice edging towards defensive. "These cars start at six figures, and we cater to a very specific clientele." Lauren disappeared into the back of the showroom, leaving Ethan standing by the sleek black coupe he had been admiring. The tension in the room was palpable, with a few employees stealing glances at him, whispering quietly among themselves. Ethan remained calm, his hands resting in his hoodie pockets, scanning the showroom as if he were merely observing the cars. But in reality, he was observing the people. Moments later, Lauren returned, her stride purposeful as she held a printout in one hand. "I've compiled a few options that might better suit your needs," she said, handing him the paper. Ethan unfolded it and scanned the list. It was filled with pre-owned cars, older models, budget-friendly sedans, and compact hybrids. He raised an eyebrow, folding the paper neatly and slipping it into his pocket. "Appreciate the effort," Ethan said, his voice steady. "But tell me something. Why is it you think these are the right options for me?" Lauren hesitated for a moment, her polished facade cracking slightly. "Well," she began, her tone careful, "our high-end inventory typically attracts a different type of clientele. I just wanted to save you time by offering practical alternatives." Ethan tilted his head slightly, studying her carefully. "Interesting," he replied simply, his calm demeanor making her shift uncomfortably. Before Lauren could respond, a commotion near the entrance caught their attention. The glass doors of the showroom swung open, and a sharply dressed man in a tailored navy suit walked in, his polished shoes clicking against the floor. His confident stride and warm smile immediately commanded attention. "Ethan," the man called out, extending his hand as he approached. "Good to see you." Lauren froze, her clipboard slipping slightly from her grasp. Her eyes darted between Ethan and the man in the suit, her confusion evident. Ethan casually shook the man's hand, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Ryan," Ethan said, his tone easy. "Thanks for coming so quickly." Lauren's mouth opened, but no words came out. She finally managed to stammer, Mr. Cruz, you know him? Ryan turned to her, his friendly expression shifting to something more serious. Lauren, this is Ethan Cruz. He's the new owner of Velocity Motors. The weight of Ryan's words hung in the air as Lauren's face drained of color. The owner? She echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan nodded slightly, his calm gaze meeting hers. That's right, he said simply. The room seemed to hold its breath as Lauren struggled to compose herself. I, I didn't realize, she stammered, her polished exterior crumbling. I had no idea. It's fine, Ethan interrupted, his voice steady but firm. You didn't know, but now you do. He let the statement linger for a moment before continuing. Lauren, let me ask you something. If I hadn't been the owner, would you have treated me any differently? Her eyes widened, and she opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. The silence in the showroom was deafening as every employee seemed to hang on Ethan's words. The employees of Velocity Motors gathered in the sleek, glass-walled conference room, their murmurs fading into silence as Ethan entered. He moved with calm confidence, his hoodie and casual demeanor at odds with the commanding presence he carried. Ryan stood near the door, arms crossed, his expression neutral but watchful. Lauren sat near the back of the room, gripping her clipboard tightly, her face pale as she avoided eye contact. Ethan stepped to the front of the room and let his gaze sweep across the group. The quiet in the room was heavy, everyone keenly aware of the tension. He placed his hands in his hoodie pockets and began speaking, his tone calm but firm. Thank you all for coming on short notice. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ethan Cruz, and I'm the new owner of Velocity Motors. He paused, letting the statement sink in. A few employees exchanged surprised glances, though most kept their expressions neutral. Lauren shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I came to this showroom today for a reason, Ethan continued. I wanted to see how things run when no one knows who I am. I wanted to experience what a customer feels walking through these doors. He took a step closer to the table, his voice steady but carrying an unmistakable weight. And I'll be honest, I wasn't impressed. A ripple of unease moved through the room. Ethan's gaze fell on Lauren briefly before he returned his focus to the group as a whole. This isn't about one person. It's about the culture we create here, the way we treat people, and the assumptions we make. This dealership has built a reputation for excellence, but excellence isn't just about the cars we sell. How we treat people matters more than anything we sell. One of the younger sales associates raised his hand hesitantly. Ethan nodded toward him. Go ahead. Mr. Cruz, the associate began nervously. I think most of us try to treat customers fairly, but sometimes it's hard not to make assumptions. Ethan nodded thoughtfully. I get that, he said. We all have biases. That's human nature. But here's the thing. It's not enough to just try to be fair. We have to challenge those biases actively. We have to create an environment where everyone feels respected, regardless of their appearance, background, or anything else. We must build a culture where respect is universal, no matter how someone looks or where they come from. His words hung in the air for a moment before he turned his attention back to Lauren. Lauren, he said, his tone softening slightly, I want to give you the chance to speak. Is there anything you'd like to say? All eyes turned to her. She hesitated, her voice barely audible when she finally spoke. I made a mistake, she admitted, her cheeks flushed. I judged you based on how you looked, and for that, I'm truly sorry. Ethan nodded, his expression unreadable. Thank you for saying that, he replied. This isn't about blame, it's about accountability. And that starts with recognizing where we went wrong. Do you think Lauren deserves a second chance she's been given? Or should she have faced harsher consequences? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.